It turns out I've been making some poor decisions with my stitching, and once I figured it out, it was a game changer. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I have had the most creative, productive week I have had in ages. Our family has an interesting schedule. We have household members who work graveyard, we have household members who work day shift, and the same person is working graveyard and day shift in the same week. So I am either up till 2 a.m. or I'm up at 5 a.m. or, sometimes I'm up at 3 a.m. just because why not? No, this is not how sleep schedule should be, but it's been 20 some years and it's not likely to change anytime soon. For ages, when I have the opportunity, I will get up at 5 a.m. and stitch because 5 a.m. stitching doesn't count. Time when normal people would be in bed sleeping. If I am up and stitching, there is nothing else I should be doing with that time. So I have been working on Coffee Pot. I am obsessed with Coffee Pot. I only have to go down to here and it's done, and it came out so much better than I expected. The only problem with Coffee Pot is that once I pick it up, I don't want to put it down. I will stitch on this thing for 3 hours. It makes no sense. This is all brown floss and shading and confetti, and I could not tell you why I am loving the challenge of this so much. I hesitate to recommend this pattern to anyone else because I don't know if anyone else will be as obsessed with this little thing as I am. It is a great pattern. It is coming out wonderfully. It is much easier to read the pattern and follow the pattern than Pile of Skulls, which was by the Pyramid of Skulls, which was by the same Etsy seller. But this is an odd one. And I start stitching on it and I don't want to go make breakfast or work on another project or go to the laundromat or do any of the other things I had in mind for the day. A few days back, it was National Dollhouse Day, and I was looking for the Busilla Dollhouse hutch to stitch on. What I landed on first was Little Girl's Fancy. I started this about the same time as I started my Flosstube channel. I got most of what you see here done, and then I absolutely burnt out on the white curtains. At the same time, I was also stitching a pattern with a little girl in a white dress and something else that had a ton of white and ecru, and I hit the point where I could not even think about those colors anymore. And the back stitching on the dollhouse itself is not easy to figure out. There are lots of similar shades and the key doesn't quite make... I just got overwhelmed and set it aside. And so National Dollhouse Day, I'll work on the dollhouse. I'll do some of the stitching, in the back stitching in the dollhouse. Yeah, no, I didn't realize how much stuff in the dollhouse wasn't stitched yet. And I didn't have the box with the bobbinated flosses with the pattern and the fabric, because why would I do that? 2-gallon Ziploc bags are your friend. They will keep everything together in one spot. I need to go down to the Dollar Tree and buy more, and I need to put everything in one spot. So I had ecru. So I spent the whole first day just stitching ecru. I spent the whole second day just stitching a shade of gray around the edges of the house. It's in the floor between the rooms and the quilt. I set a timer. I told myself I'm going to work on this for an hour. And this is fun enough right now that I'm willing to stitch on it for an hour or two. But I can also put it down and do the other stuff I need to do and save my coffee pot for later in the day. This, I don't know why it took me so long to come to this conclusion, but it is making a huge difference in how my day goes. It would not be a bad thing to finish this quickly, but I know that this is one of those projects that I am loving so much that when it is done, I'm going to be happy it's done. Don't get me wrong, but there's going to be that sense of, what do I work on now? I've lost this. We'll see if I stick with that or not. I also have my first finish of the year. Yes, I am aware that we are well into April and I have not finished anything. But I've done a lot of stitching on a lot of big projects. I haven't done any finishing of any projects, big or small or otherwise. I finished my shawl. I love the colors of this one. They're just cheerful and happy, and the yarn is nice to work with. The shawl that I have been working on, and I've got like 700 yards into that shawl, it's a lighter weight yarn. The colors don't look the way they did on the ball band. I am not loving it. This I love. Loved is a strong word. I enjoyed the process of knitting it. This is for donation. I will be happy to take this to show and tell, hand it over, and move on to the next one. I knit it with the Premier Sweet Roll Frosties I got from the Craft Warehouse clearance sale. 3 of these little cakes will get a nice size shawl. They don't take too long to knit up. I wish I had bought more of these. If they'd had more colors, I would have bought more of these. I think I've got enough for like 3 more shawls, and then I have got plenty of other yarn to play with. It's just that self-striping is easy. Yesterday morning, I was scrolling Facebook or something and saw the Witchy Stitcher, The Difference Between Medicine and Poison, and I bought it. I printed it. Now I need to see if I have a piece of black Ada the right size. The difference between medicine and poison is the dose. I accidentally printed it in black and white, but my printer is printing everything in a weird sickly greenish hue right now, so it's shades of skeleton colors. It is beautiful. I love projects that are a bit spooky. I love projects that have typography. I spend way too much time contemplating the saying, and if that saying really applies to me, and if I want to stitch it, and I mean, it can be the most benign bloom where you're planted sort of thing, and I will totally overthink it. This one is like it was created for our household. For years now, I have taken blood thinners, and originally I was on warfarin, which is the same stuff as you would put out in your barn to kill your rats. It is literally poison. And we had, of course, you keep the prescription medications away from the children. That goes without saying. But we did also explain to them that mom takes rat poison. It will make your blood come out your eyeballs. So I love this one. I am so excited about stitching this. I am less excited about stitching on black Ada, but this needs to be on black to get the effect, and I love it. I stopped at the Friends of the Library bookstore, and somebody donated just a ton of cross-stitch and country crafts. It is that same handful of issues that are absolutely everywhere, but they have the sewing room stocking. Somewhere I have the sewing room stocking, so on the first trip I didn't buy it, but then I got home and started thinking, you know, it's just a dime. A week passed. I told myself, if I go back and they're still there, I'm going to get it because I could use a backup of the pattern. That would not be a bad thing to have. And I went back and I got it. And I also got 2 books of cross-stitch alphabets because they were a dime, and I can make samplers. There's some things I've been wanting to chart out, and for whatever dumb reason, I've been convinced that I need to figure out the letters myself. But if I am just doing a one-off little sampler for me and not sharing it with anyone else, I can use someone else's letters. If you're going to drive down there, you have to browse through the books, and they had 4 seasons in cross-stitch. I checked out this book from the library years ago. I did a flip-through video. There's some really cute things in here. And the one pattern that has stuck in my mind is the adder cushion. There is a snake. Actually, it shows up really good on the video, better than it does when you're looking at the page. There is a snake hiding in those leaves. For whatever reason, I really want to challenge myself by stitching that snake, and my household would love the snake. So I got the book for $1. Now I can stitch the snake whenever the mood strikes to do that. I don't know if the mood ever will strike to do that, but the library went through and they completely purged, not just needlework, they purged everything. I doubt they still have this book. I was never going to find a copy cheaper than $1, so Sewing Room Bookshelf Edition, could not be happier. And if I never stitch the snake, it'll be at the estate sale. A few weeks back, I was at one of our local thrift stores, and they had just a ridiculous number of shepherd's bush patterns and kits. And they had one drawn thread. They had Alpine Garden. And I really liked Alpine Garden, but I knew I had a drawn thread sampler that I had started 20 some years ago. I was sure it was Alpine Garden. And those are long sold. They're not in the shop anymore. I'm not stitching Alpine Garden. I'm stitching Woodland Walk. Oops, that's okay. I really don't regret not spending the couple of bucks that Alpine Garden would have cost. If I had known, I would have bought it. But now that inspired me to pull out a really old UFO, and I thought I was inspired to stitch on it, but I'm thinking linen is not on my to-do list for today. I have it. I will stitch it. I think I did something truly stupid and pulled out the fancy floss from this one. Why would I do that? So now I need to figure out where the fancy floss is, because I put it all together in one cute little jewelry box, but I never use fancy floss, so it's in a very safe place. To be found at some point going on in the future. I spent hours up here yesterday sorting through the attic. My little corner of the world here, it was all organized. Then I decided that all of those old encyclopedias and stuff that I had stacked in the corner over there really should be way over there at the far end. I'm putting things so they're back tucked behind other things because I know I don't need to get at them anytime soon. Well, I changed my mind, and I spent a ridiculous amount of time yesterday clearing out a corner over there, moving stuff from over there to over there. It is like do you remember the little plastic games, if you're my age, when we were kids, where you had to slide the little plastic bricks to move one over to the other corner? I am playing that game with boxes and furniture in my attic. I don't recommend it. It's not the most fun game you could play. While I was doing that, I put on my friend Joanna Campbell Slan's new audiobook, Too Blessed to Be Depressed, Stories to Move You from Stress to Blessed. And I listened to it, and it was like having a pep talk going on in the background. It took me a couple hours. I got about halfway through the book, and there's stories of women who have been in stressful, unpleasant situations, some more serious than others, and the decisions they have made to pull themselves up out of whatever was getting to them. I definitely don't identify with all of these stories, but they were inspiring. It was like this feel-good, happy soundtrack in the background, and it drowned out all of the self-criticism for having a messy attic. If you don't know the whole long backstory, I broke my knee. I had 2 young babies. For years, I could not easily lift heavy things or do the steps. And even after I could, I defaulted to not doing the steps because the last thing anybody needed was for me to injure that knee again. So it's cluttered up here. That's putting it minorly. I've gotten rid of so much of the clutter. The baby clothes, old homeschool supplies, stuff that we absolutely do not need in our lives. But I don't know about you, when I am figuring out what to do with my day, cleaning out my attic has been the last thing on my list. It's like cleaning up those cupboards in the barn that have stuff that was in there when we bought the house. It can wait. So I really enjoyed the book, recommend the book if you're looking for something like that. The audio version is new. The text version, what do you call it when you have to read it yourself? That's available on Kindle Unlimited. I also have been listening to YouTube videos from Joff Lindsay. I started out with one about vocal fry, and I don't know why it popped up in my feed. It sounded intriguing. It's been on my to-watch list forever. And vocal fry, it's what I thought it was, and at the same time, it's not. And then I listened to another one about the mid-Atlantic accent that they talk about being created for old Hollywood movies. Think Cary Grant, think Katharine Hepburn, and it's not what other creators have told us it was. I wish this channel had existed when we were going through our almost decade-long speech therapy journey, because it would have been so helpful to understand some of this stuff about where the sounds are supposed to go in the words, as opposed to just how to manipulate your mouth to make the sounds. And now that I've talked about speech therapy, my childhood lisp, it'll be back by the end of this video. Almost forgot. While I was at the thrift store looking to see if those charts had sold, they had a Morton Salt bread dough craft book, and the cover of it looked really familiar. While I was digging through random stuff in my attic, when Grandma died, I brought home a bunch of stuff from her house, and it just got tucked away to sort through later. Look what I found. I knew I recognized that little salt dough girl with the umbrella and the canister of salt. Unfortunately, this is volume 1, so it doesn't have the cigar box I fell in love with in the thrift store, but it's definitely proof that I had seen this before. Now, I'm so confused that Grandma was the opposite of a pack rat. In her later years, she got very, very minimalist. How did she still have this? It's just one of those little, now and then I will find something lately that Grandma's here with me and making herself known in some very quirky ways. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle. I am hoping that the upcoming week is just as productive as last week was, and regardless, I'll be back with you with more videos soon.